Hey, Extension friends, Nate Burt here at Silver Maple Strategies as an NTAE key informant. Really excited to be with you again and wanted to talk today about this idea of making the implicit explicit. This is something that, as a young leader in the business world, I had to learn, I won't say the hard way, but a leader, my supervisor, Amy, once sort of called this idea out. Again, just recognizing the fact that just because you think you all heard the same thing, maybe you're in a Zoom room or even in a physical space together, you're in a meeting, you're deciding on various kinds of things or figuring out who's going to do what next on a climate project, and you all leave the meeting with your own individual sense of what was said, rather than making sort of ideas that were in your head about what you think you heard explicit, right? Getting it in the same language on paper and verbally saying out loud and confirming that you are on the same page. So I want to talk a little bit about maybe a technique or a strategy for taking what can be, sort of overwhelm. I know many of you have back-to-back meetings every day. You start to lose track of who said what when. You're probably taking really good notes, but sometimes even taking notes doesn't necessarily capture what the other person was thinking and didn't say out loud. So this is a strategy for actually getting out of your head and into the universe, so to speak, what everyone in the room is thinking, what they think they heard, what they think their next steps are, and actually starting to say those things out loud and then write them down so that you are on the same page. You can take action. You make more progress. You're doing less sort of backpedaling and saying, okay, this is what I thought. What did you think? And that is going to happen, right? That's the nature of being a human. And, not always being completely clear yourself, not always being clear on what other people meant or intended. But this is a strategy to help you hopefully get a little more clarity earlier in the process, so that you can use more of that valuable time thinking, being creative, planning your strategy, doing the work, versus sort of rewriting the communications until you're all aligned. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into the next section of this slideshow. Let me give you a sense of where we're going with this. So I want to be sure to share that what you think you both agreed to. So maybe you and a colleague, you and a teammate, you and a partner that is outside of the extension system, what you think you both agreed to, in many cases, isn't always what you actually agreed to. So, for example, let's say we're working on a climate program together, and we have a series of action steps that we've identified at the end of the meeting. We haven't written anything down yet. We're relying on our AI tool or maybe the handwritten notes we have to sort of capture that for us, and we'll follow up later, right? So as the meeting is ending, maybe we're all rushing to get to our next call. We say, hey, so, I'll work on the report. I'm going to, write the summary report. And then you, Jim, or you, Samantha, you're going to contact, A, B, and C people and ask them these questions. All right, great. Sounds good. Everybody's on the same page. Awesome. We get off the meeting. We go to our next meeting, and what we agreed to maybe is lost in the ether. And in addition to that, sure, we're going to put the notes together later based on our memory, based on what the AI told us, based on our handwritten notes. But what's missing is, hey, it wasn't just that I was supposed to write the summary report and you, Samantha, or Bob was going to contact these 3 people. We also had these 5 other steps that we failed to sort of talk out loud about, right? So there was for example, in this hypothetical meeting, let's say that there was an issue that we never actually reached resolution on. For example, the administration at my university or in my, neck of the woods is fully on board, but they need to review and approve the plan before I can write the summary report. And Samantha or Bob's institution, their administration is really hesitant right now around this specific topic that's going to be contained in the report. And so I don't know if we can actually co-brand this, right, from their university and my university, or their part of extension and mine, because they may be uncomfortable. But we didn't figure out, what is the plan there? So here's an example of how this could go wrong, right? Because we didn't make the implicit explicit, I'm going to spend the next 2 to 3 hours, hypothetically. Again, I've heard horror stories about people working on impact reports that spent 50 hours on a report, which blew my mind. But again, it's because some of these conversations didn't happen, right? Or we didn't sort of think through what is the outcome that's desired? What does the end user of this report need? So I'm going to invest, let's say, 3 hours of my time building this summary report. The next meeting, or maybe the next email chain, I'm going to send this to Samantha or Bob, and I'm going to say, hey, you guys, hope you really, really liked the last meeting. We had a lot done. Here's that report that I promised. As you'll see on page 1, I've put both of our logos on there. I've added you both as, us as co-authors of this report. And we're ready to ship this and publish it on Friday. Again, I'm being sort of facetious here, but you sort of hopefully see where I'm going. So Samantha or Bob writes back and says, whoa. What we talked about was, look, while your administration is on board, we need to do some serious internal socialization. I need an executive summary of justifying why we want to do this report, explaining how we're going to address some of the red flags right now, some of the sensitivities around this issue. And, I'm going to need a letter from your institution saying that you're in on this before we can actually move forward with the report. Well, now, how am I feeling, right? I feel a little bit betrayed, right? I know they weren't trying to make me upset, but I also know that, look, I thought we agreed to this. I invested all this time and energy coming up with a report that's probably going to have to be thrown out or significantly rewritten. There's going to be all this bureaucracy or red tape or whatever you want to call it. Just frankly, just the aspect of working inside a large, complex institution to get approval. So now my published date for Friday is going to be pushed back a month or 3 months or what have you. Maybe it'll never see the light of day, right? I could start catastrophizing. All because we didn't take the time, we didn't budget the time to make the implicit explicit, right? I didn't say, these are the things I'm working on and go through the entire list. Is this correct? Am I missing anything? Push back on this. So again, what I'm encouraging you to do is move away from the sort of rushed frenzy at the end of a meeting or a conversation where we say, oh, here are the handful of things we're working on. Stop, budget the time. If you need to end the meeting early and save the rest of the conversation topics for later, to respect everyone's time and make sure you dedicate enough resources to going through that list of next steps and making sure you're aligned fully and then writing it down while you're there. Take time to do that, right? It's that important. And again, miscommunications, you can see they have this sort of cascading effect that sometimes is not very positive for anybody involved. So think about these 3 I words the next time you want to try to make the implicit explicit. First, inform, right? Share the idea, the need, the topic, right? This could basically be talking through the items on your agenda, having those conversations. But then when it comes to actually doing okay, what are the action steps at the end? You are informing, like, these are the things I heard. Topic A, topic B, topic C. Here's what I'm going to do. Then I want you to issue, right? Issue a comment, a request. And I'm going to encourage you, like my leader, Amy, did for me, make the ask and then confirm that they heard that and that they are in agreement. And if not, say so and tell me what I need to correct or change about that. So for example, I heard that I'm going to write the summary report. I'm going to get the executive letter from my leadership saying that they are on board with co-branding this with your institution. And I'm going to send that to you for feedback, requesting your input by end of business Friday, May 3rd. Does that sound correct? Is there anything I missed that I need to clarify about the steps that I'm taking? Then go through that. And that's the invite part, right? You're asking for input, feedback, a response from your colleague. Again, this is for collaborative situations when you're trying to make sure you're on the same page versus assuming you're on the same page, right? And the same would be true for your colleague, right? They would go through their checklist, verify that they heard everything correctly. Again, every assignment, every task gets a person's name and has a deadline, right? Time and date. It's not enough to just say, I'm going to do this. You have to be clear. So talk it out and then write it down, right? Ideally, while you're in the same conversation or immediately thereafter, document that so that you're able to move forward totally aligned. And again, there will always be areas maybe you overlooked or things you forgot about. But in general, this is going to help you make the implicit explicit. And that guides accountability for all parties involved. All right, so the call to action, I want you to think about one opportunity coming up, maybe a big meeting, a workshop, a stand-up call where you're talking with a handful of your colleagues that you do every week. And think about how are you going to experiment with these 3 I words, right? And so you and your colleagues are aligned, right? Maybe at a deeper level, a clearer level than you've ever been before. And again, inform, right? Say what's on the list, issue a request for comment or feedback, and then, or no, I'm sorry, issue, like you're saying, like, I want help verifying these are correct, and then make your invite, right? Make your specific ask for input. All right, so that's this week's video. I hope this was helpful to you. Again, thinking about making the implicit explicit. My goal is to save you time in your communications and planning so you can get more done, have more time to innovate, and get clear on expectations. Have a great day, and I'll see you on the next video. Take care.